Right. So the next question is, what about these antacids? And you mentioned a word or a name that not everybody might be familiar with. It's called Acifex. That's an antacid that's like the purple pill they advertise on TV, the Nexium or the Prilosec or the Omeprazole. It turns out that just like there's Ford and Chevy and Pontiac or Saturn, Hummer, Anyway, so like there's a lot of cars, but they all are similar. There's a lot of brands of these antacids. Now these are very powerful special antacids. They've got their own name, which I'm going to use. They are called proton pump inhibitors. Because the way your body makes gastric acid, it puts out part of a hydrogen ion to make hydrochloric acid in your abdomen. Well, not exactly in your abdomen, in your stomach. And that acid can lead to an ulcer. So you can take the little chemical pump that's in the cells that line your stomach and interfere with it, and that's called a proton pump inhibitor, or a PPI. And the reason I want to go through that and explain that is because there's lots of brands of PPIs that are all the same. As far as we can tell, roughly, there's some detail, but for your purposes, Acifex, Protonix, Nexium, Prilosec, Omeprazole, Prevacid, they're all the same. So if you ask me, should I take one versus the other, I go, is a Ford different than a Chevy? Is a BMW, Mercedes? They're all about the same. Why are we taking them might be another thing to talk about while we're talking about this group of drugs, and that is the biggest concern in our patients, the most serious long-term risk, the most common serious problem, the biggest complication from our patients is getting an ulcer or gastritis. Where the stomach is connected to the intestine can get an ulcer or gastritis. And if it does, then you can have pain and discomfort. And if you drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes or drink soda pop, it can actually get bleeding. You can actually get a perforated ulcer. So, to help protect against that, we give you a PPI. And rather than going into detail of saying take Nexium versus Prilosec or Acifex versus Omeprazole, we just say that the cheapest, roughly, thing that you can find in the grocery store is the generic Prilosec called Omeprazole, and you can now buy it over the counter, and that's what we recommend. Now, could you buy a Chevy instead of a Ford? We recommend Omeprazole. It's in the grocery store. Could you go buy a Chevy instead of that? Yes, but for our purposes, to make it simple, we say Omeprazole. It's a PPI. It's like everybody else. It can be complicated because of all these other names, so we say just take Omeprazole, period. Okay.